Jordan, wanted to ask you a little question.
Yes.
What's the opposite of a losing streak?
Joyous and wondrous victory streak.
There we go. That's what I was looking for. That's what I was
Technically,
fishing for.
it's a streak.
We are now on a win streak, aren't we?
A 1-game win streak, baby.
1-game win streak because we have solved all of the problems, all the team issues, everything that's been plaguing us for 100 and some days. It's all over. We did it. You and I, we did it. In fact, this is the end of the podcast. This will be our last episode. Thank you for joining us on this journey as we solved every problem 100 Thieves will ever face. We're so grateful that you were along for the ride.
Our royalty checks are in the mail. We're cashing out. And it's been a great ride, you know? We started at the top. We hit the bottom for a while, back at the top, undefeated.
We just lost to show we could do it and come back.
Yeah,
just to prove the greatness.
It's all about the storyline. Can you imagine what the heist crew is going to be able to pull off when we win Worlds?
It's going to be incredible. That's why I've got my Worlds jersey on today, because I'm just feeling that kind of energy right now. And you know who else is feeling the energy? Ricky in chat. Thank you, buddy, for the sub. He says 100 Thieves winning Worlds. He's on the same page we are.
Look, Ricky, I'm hitting you on Discord. When they win Worlds, you and me, tat it up.
That's right. Yeah, you guys have some tats to get.
I'm doing this. If you watch the video stream, I'm suggesting, I guess, that we get matching.
I guess you're getting
tattoos.
Pecs.
Hey, get the pecs tatted. Let's do it.
Right. You
one
do you.
Trophy here, one trophy here.
Well, look. Yes, we are very happy that we won, because now we are only somewhat the laughing stock of the LCS right now. Everything else is going quite peachy for the org.
Yeah.
And the improvement's nice to see. So,
that's like the greatest Sunday of all time.
Yeah, well, yes.
Org
wide with the COD Anaheim win. And
yeah. Can I just say before we move on from this jubilant moment, this moment of just pure exultation, did you watch this game? Obviously, we're about to talk about it. That's part of the
I have seen it. This time I actually watched.
A bit of homework. Usually you don't watch either game.
No, I don't.
This weekend I told you they won, so you went ahead and watched it.
Yep.
It was like a hallmark moment, man. It was so heartwarming. When we started to turn that game around, the crowd was like, people were getting hyped. It was so cool. And it was not ironic. And if anybody says it was ironic, they're wrong. It was, people were legitimately happy and excited.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That felt good.
It did seem like we had positive vibes coming from the community for the first time in, who knows how long.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that we talked a little bit about like what's the image of this team, and I think it's different in COD, obviously.
Sure.
But I don't think we're a team that people love to hate all the time. I think they're like, I don't think we've not taken over from like the TSMs of the world and the TLs and the Cloud9s, and whenever we play against them, I think we'll get trashed. But of the new bunch, the new kids on the block, I think we're a pretty likable group. And I think you saw that when they started cheering for us.
I think you're a likable dude. That's why I'm here to talk to you for the next hour about 100 Thieves.
I appreciate that. Such good vibes to start this show off.
Good vibes, good vibes.
Let's just win every week. I feel great.
Let's try not to ruin these good vibes. Because we're going to have some intense conversations here.
Ooh, we're going to go down to it.
Even though we're doing this, we're starting to rise, we're starting to improve. There are still a lot of things to figure out because, a lot of changes were made. A lot of things are going crazy. It's just hard to sort through everything. And I don't think we know anything close to the full picture yet. So that being said, let's do what we always do. Let's talk the games first in the macro sense.
Yes.
Visit some general stuff. And I want to start with Golden Guardians, of course, because this was when we saw, as we predicted, as we predicted, FakeGod and Ryu came in. And I think before this season started, I said I thought it would be around week 4 that we would see this happen. They went ahead and did it early, which is fine by me based on how the first 2 weekends went. But
Yep.
we got our dear friend FakeGod and the old wise sage Ryu into
Wow.
the game.
Wow. What a difference a mid makes.
Yeah, right. Like, do you want to start with Ryu first?
I don't know where else you could start.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay.
And hey, look, I was on record saying that Soligo was playing amazingly.
Yeah.
I just want to talk to you about the different flavors of amazing. And I'm not talking about our jungler. I'm talking about lowercase a amazing. This is going to be a problem ongoing, I think.
Yes, it
for
will
me.
be.
I like that word. Do you feel like Ryu's performance coming in, the way this team looks so different, the way we played completely like a different team, in your mind, does that diminish Soligo, or is it just building up Ryu?
Well, that's hard to say. I mean, obviously it would
I'm
point
hitting
to
hard early.
well, obviously it would point to the fact that the guys that are playing now have something that the other guys who are sitting out do not, right? Something happened. And you can be a player that's skilled in certain areas and not so skilled in the others, and it's looking like maybe Soligo is at this point a better laner than Ryu.
Yeah.
But the intangibles that Ryu is bringing kind of makes things a little bit different because the active playmaking across the map was something that we haven't really had a chance to see out of Soligo. So
Yeah.
it's an apples to oranges problem, but obviously we look like a more competitive team when we go with the orange.
Very clearly. I don't think there's any arguing that.
Yeah. So certainly, like, it's looking like the sum of the parts is greater when Ryu's in over Soligo.
Right. And let's not forget, everyone, the last time we saw Ryu playing in this LCS lineup was at Worlds, the tournament called Worlds. So it is the intangible, like he is not the dominant mid lane crush our opponents. There's just something about having him in our lineup that makes us play at a completely different level.
I think that we should definitely point out what he was playing, because he was playing Talia.
Yeah.
That is a champion that's going to be highly mobile and have a lot of playmaking ability with the Weaver's Wall.
Yep.
And some of the over-the-wall pop-ups that you're able to land. He's playing on a champion designed to do what he did. So some of that advantage is kind of built into the comp. I want to point that out. But I have to say that when I saw that pick come through, I was thinking to myself, oh no. This is I was hoping we get Ryu on a Rise or Vladimir or something.
Yeah.
And we got him on Talia.
thing.
And guess what? It looked dandy.
It did, man. It looked different and it looked dandy. Those are 2 D words we can use to describe the situation. The kid is built to make plays, and the boy was making some plays, man. And just the proactivity. We started using that word, I want to say, in the academy games. This just looked like a very proactive group. I feel like that's something that Ryu brings. And I don't honestly know how he does it. Like, what is it that he says to people that makes them decide to make plays and be active? I didn't know that that's what shot calling does, but apparently that's what shot calling does.
Yeah, and that interview that Aframu did with Loco, he mentioned that Ryu is a very vocal person, and he encourages everybody to talk a lot, and he talks a lot himself. So maybe it is as simple as that, because I don't know about you, but when I was watching the heist this past weekend, there was not a lot of activity in those comms. When they showed the quick glimpses of the comms, it was not very active. It's basically like one person talking, and that's not what you typically see, especially during highlight plays.
Right.
So if that's what Ryu's bringing to the table that's different, so be it. It's working.
Yeah, and it has worked in the past. And the last time Ryu was on this team, we were a top 3 team. Like, I don't think you can underestimate or undersell that fact. The team looks different, and the league looks different, but we were not a 10th place team. We never were. We were never close when Ryu was in our lineup. And I would say already we're looking a lot more like a middle of the table team than a dead last team.
Yeah. I think you and I obviously would agree that having Ryu in was a net positive for the team. Okay. So where we might have difference of opinion, either us or with, the other fans, is on FakeGod and Ssumday.
Yep.
Obviously, for those who may not be aware, the import slot restriction says that you can only have 2 players that don't have NA residency in on a single lineup. So with Ryu going in, he is an import. They need to take away either Bang or Ssumday from the lineup to be able to play, and in this case, we chose Ssumday and put FakeGod in. Mm-hmm. So let me say this: I actually was very interested in seeing how FakeGod would perform, and was just paying attention to how the game felt and how what he did showed up on the scoreboard and then showed up in just the overall feeling of the game.
Yep.
And I asked this question on Twitter right after the game, which was, FakeGod was in. Did you guys miss Ssumday? So I ask you that question, Jordan. With FakeGod in, and I'm talking Golden Guardians, okay? Did you miss Ssumday?
I mean, I think, well, there are a couple things. One, are you talking about summer split 2019 Ssumday? Are you talking about 2018 Ssumday? Spring split Ssumday? I think in his current form, and I'll be honest, even in his current form, I think he looks comparable, and he's not been, the weakness with Ssumday is not that he's been getting bullied in lane. I think probably FakeGod's already got more solo deaths in lane than Ssumday's had for who knows how long. I'd be interested to see that stat. And I'm not going to.
We did see Ssumday get a couple solo deaths over the past.
That's true. Yeah. During the split push. Yeah. I think it was a little bit differently.
I think it is too. I'm just saying.
Yeah. You're right though. So to answer your question, did I miss Ssumday? Of course I missed Ssumday. Ssumday is incomparable. He's like kind of one of the original. He's the guy I'll never forget. Right. Like he'll always be that legendary top laner for us in his glory days. Game impact wise, did I miss Ssumday? I really didn't. I think that FakeGod, what he lacked in lane phase, I think he made up really admirably for during team fights. And I think the Aurelia was a very serious threat for people. I'm jumping ahead a little bit there.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're trying to restrict. Yep. This is an important distinction for me. I want to focus in on game 1 over game 2. I have different set of points for game 2. On
Sure. So I'll try to restrict my question here, because you asked this question as game 1 was going on or ending, right? Game 1 of the weekend.
Yeah.
So, the Rumble, I mean, not a pick that I love.
Period, right? No matter who's playing it. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think if Hooney's on our team and he's playing Rumble, fantastic. Like, bring that. But it's just not a champion. I think he did it. He played the champion as more or less you'd like to see. If Ssumday we're playing Rumble, I think I would expect to see close to the same thing.
That's the thing, because you asked, which Ssumday are we talking about? And I'm thinking about summer 2019 Ssumday. I didn't miss it during this game. Yeah. I just like you said, if Ssumday was on Rumble for this game, I feel like we would have gotten exactly the same, if not a little less, out of him. For whatever reason, it seemed like he's just not been himself, especially in lane this split.
Yep.
And when judging on current form, I have to say I didn't miss it at all.
Yeah.
So I was caught off guard by that, because I expected to feel that loss kind of keenly, even if we did have high expectations for FakeGod, because outside of the 100 Thieves community, I feel like people may not be aware of this, but inside the community, I feel like most people are aware that this is somebody who's believed to have a lot of potential as a young dude. Like, he's shown some crazy promise. Right. So, we expected him to be, better than your average person who's just coming out of academy to start in LCS. Right. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, and I felt like, that was about a 1-for-1 substitution. And since the mid lane went so much better, like, I was cool with it.
The math works out.
Yeah.
It does.
And that's what this whole thing is about, has been finding the right roster optimization, because the math is not always the same. Right. It's always difficult. So the different combinations are going to yield a different sum. And, if FakeGod can be consistently, which is the question mark, somewhere in the neighborhood of a 1-for-1 replacement for a good top laner, dude, I'll take it. If that means Ryu can get in.
Well, and it just gives us so much more flexibility.
Yeah.
Right. Like we haven't cut Ssumday. He's still a member of the team. Having somebody who is a comparable trade, like a viable backup, is always good. That's always a positive thing.
Yeah.
And you might not be convinced yet that FakeGod is the Ssumday replacement. But I think what you can't say is this team looks a lot worse with FakeGod playing. And granted, it's not a 1-for-1, right? Like we didn't just do the old switcheroo. But what you get when you bring FakeGod in is they're kind of a package deal. You also get Ryu. You shouldn't look at the two in isolation. So I think overall, I'm having a hard time finding something to be upset about with the way FakeGod played, especially given the outcome and the way the team played.
Sure.
So yeah, I think I've been seeing some people say we got to bring Ssumday back in, and I just don't get that at all. Like I can't. I mean, we've tried that look, and it's not working, and it hasn't for 100+ days.
But we're going to talk about why pieces of that argument make sense a little bit. So as I always do, let's bookmark that because I'm gonna revisit that point.
We'll put a pin in it.
Yeah, we'll put a pin on it. So the thing is, the way we're talking about this game, if you had not seen it, you probably would have thought we won because we're very positive about it. But we actually lost this game.
We did.
But what does it mean? What does it mean to lose to Golden Guardians in the way that we lost?
Yeah. Are you at? Is that the?
Yeah.
Okay. Not a rhetorical question.
Not a rhetorical question. I actually am curious to hear what you think.
What does it mean? So, Golden Guardians tied for first place. They are no longer the us of 2019. We switched them. They've been playing really well, and they're Froggin. So a lot of people were asking questions about Froggin. I think those questions have all been put to bed. That guy is a massive problem. He has so many picks that he can take over a game with, and we got to see one of them on full display, not just because the champion is good, but because he clearly has kind of a higher level of mastery on Lux. He just had so many smart plays.
Yeah.
So many combos that basically 100-0'd people. Knocking Ryu off the Weaver's wall was disgusting.
Yeah, jeez.
Like,
that was unfortunate for us.
It was a good team in good form with somebody who is making a very strong argument for first team LCS at this rate. So what does it mean? And that's why I think I feel so positively about this. It means we played against a really, really good team, and we showed a lot of positive signs. That's what I take from it. It's the polar opposite of what we've seen, even playing against pretty average or below average teams.
Yeah.
Because we had a competitive game that was entertaining, fun to watch, that we showed a lot of fight in. I mean, I think it was a couple weeks ago I said, I just want to have a fun game to watch, 100 Thieves. It's been so long since I've been excited for a game. Or after watching a game, felt like, man, that was a good game. That's how I felt after this one.
And it's kind of a weird thing to say that you felt so positively about the game. Because, early game actually did not go well. If we're being honest, like at the 12 minutes, we were down 3,700 gold.
Yeah.
That is not a very comebackable situation, especially in this meta. What we've seen is it's harder and harder to come back from early deficits.
Yeah.
But somehow it did feel like, we were contesting and we were in it in some way, which was pretty cool. And it gave us a lot to build on, I think, for the following game. Which was even more.
Compare this game where we were behind, we were down, we were getting beat up, to the clutch game, and just how different those two games felt.
Right.
Where the clutch game, we literally just hung on the edge of the precipice by our fingertips for 20 minutes. In this game, we made plays in mid lane, like at the river. Like we set up and we took a fight, and we dictated the terms of the engagement versus we had, we ran back to Fountain. We set up some sand soldiers. We cleared another wave. We made them wait. So that's why I think I felt so much better about it.
Yeah. I feel like Ryu he set up like 3 or 4 picks throughout the course of this game, which is just not what we see typically. We typically we just turtle when we get behind by a few kills, and that's kind of the end of the game. We die a slow, unemotional death from there. But that didn't happen. Ryu found a groove, amazing, looked good. Even in the face of Froggen being super problematic on Lux. So yeah, I mean, both of us obviously feel pretty optimistic from that. So going into Echo Fox, it's like,
can we talk about one more thing? Sorry.
Yeah.
Because I know you want me to keep my thoughts on the game in the segment. FakeGod playing Rumble. One thing I liked about that a lot is the kid plays with a lot of aggression. Like,
he sure does.
There were many situations where he kind of recognized that it was over, and he just turned right back around. And it wasn't like he was low health. He was just like, this is going to end with me dying. So here we go. You know, like, flamethrowers on, let's do this. and like, I think that's what I like about FakeGod right now is he's got a huge killer instinct and he wants to fight. And I think over time we'll see the scales tip more toward him in the solo kills / deaths column. Especially I think as he gets his nerves about him.
Yeah.
Because it's a big game for him.
Right. He even in the heist when they showed some of the behind the scenes as they let up, like he looked nervous.
Yeah, when he kind of talked about being nervous too on Twitch or Twitter rather. He was tweeting about that a little bit.
Yeah, which is, you know, he's is he 19 now? I think he's 19, right? Or is that right? He's somewhere in there. He's super young. He's just getting his sea legs underneath him, his league legs.
Yeah,
we'll call it.
Well, and I think like we saw with Soligo has become a much stronger player over the last several game weeks. Mm-hmm. You've got to expect that FakeGod's going to do the same thing. He is not going to be the same player 6 weweeks from now if he keeps getting stage time.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If he keeps getting stage time. So we'll again put a pin in that. We'll revisit.
I'm just setting you up. Setting you up for your next section here.
Well, look, Echo Fox. So Echo Fox was an interesting story for a variety of reasons. The prime reason being we won.
Hey.
We are champions of everything. We are now immortal and invincible, and we will never lose again. 13-5, here we come.
Oh, that's a great record. 13-5. I can't believe we pulled it off.
I can't believe we did it either. We've done it. Record achieved.
Good split. Call it.
Undeniably, it felt good to win one, even if it was with somebody who looks quite poopy like Echo Fox does. All right.
Your boy Solo was doing work in the top lane.
That's what I want to talk about. Okay, so we were just talking about FakeGod. Obviously, this was not a as good of a showing for FakeGod as Game 1 was against Golden Guardians. Here's the thing I want to point out. So Jordan's saying that because I'm just not a fan of Solo.
It's fine. You don't have to like everybody.
Yeah, I just his vibe is not right for me. Anyway, so he has the reputation for being like a bottom tier top laner, right? Objectively, this split, he's looking a lot better.
Yes.
All right. So I do want to qualify that because a lot of people were like, oh, like, you know, look at how he did. He got solo killed twice by Solo. Solo is trash. So if he solo kills him twice, he's really trash. It's not the same Solo. No. And no matter how much in my head I'm still like, yeah, Solo's trash. He's better now. Something turned on. He's now pretty much Echo Fox's best player. It's something. So
you got the marquee with the.
But undeniably, FakeGod just did not do as well against him, with the solo kills being the obvious thing. I want to point something out though.
Please.
And I'll do this in the form of a question, like typically I do with you.
Thank you.
So
thanks for the warning.
If you recall both solo kills, he's playing Aurelia and he's going into a Kali. He tries to get stuns off with the flawless duet through the shroud. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they both miss and he pays the price. Okay. Yeah. So if each one of those stuns lands, how do you feel about FakeGod's performance in that entire game?
If he
I'm serious.
The holistic view.
Yeah.
If he gets those off and either gets a kill out of it or just gets
a trade. Yeah.
Yeah, good trade. I think it's actually a really good game, I would say. You know, people are going to look at the solo kills and make a big deal out of it. and say, oh, look, he's getting trashed in lane. And even the casters were having a little bit of fun. You know, they were putting up Solo's player cam and looking at it and saying, is this guy serious? Is this guy serious? And is he serious? Love you, casters. But you guys were clowning on him. And I don't think they probably should have been to that extent. Because you look at it, right, just objectively, a solo kill is not worth more gold. It's not, you know, they don't have like a 2-minute respawn. You know, there's not a lot. It's the same as getting killed by a jungler, except there's no shared assist gold. But their overall stat line wasn't different, right? Like they ended lane phase. I think FakeGod maybe even had a little bit more favorable stat line, if I'm not wrong. It was close.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was 0-4-0 by the end of lane phase. He was like 3-3-1 or 2. So
and even on CS through the meaningful portion of it. Yeah.
So he didn't get trashed in lane. He got clipped, right? Like somebody's gonna clip that, and then they're gonna put Solo's thing up, and then they're gonna say, is this guy serious? So he was going. I mean, he was trying to style. Like he was trying to.
Yeah, he tried to do too much for sure.
In a shroud, that's pretty gutsy.
It was too. He was trying to do too much objectively. Yeah. Okay, but all I'm saying is that just that if those 2 stuns land, I think we're having an entirely different conversation about FakeGod right now.
I think you're right.
Because everybody points to that and be like, man, he got a solo kill twice and blah blah blah, and it didn't look impressive in the end. But
bring back Ssumday.
If that doesn't happen, man, it looks a lot different. So those are 2 tiny plays.
Yeah, he might be 5-1-1 at the end of lane phase.
And that's a very easily coachable thing, right? Probably says, you idiot, don't try and do that. This is LCS. And that's all you do. And you're good from that point. So I actually, like, look, and I still think overall, even writing off those plays, it didn't go as well for him as it did during Golden Guardians. Especially when he's on an Aurelia and you expect him to be doing a little bit more. You know, I think that we shouldn't dwell too much on that performance. I don't think it was too big of a drop-off, even though there were a couple of kind of embarrassing moments. I think everybody should pump the brakes on the FakeGod hate.
Yeah, I'm right there. Especially if what you're doing is arguing to bring Ssumday back in. Just and like to revert back, right? Soligo, Ssumday, bang, let's do it. Run it back.
Yeah, and in Twitch chat, Brother Darkness Game says, wait, so if he gets passed on those, why doesn't Ssumday? Who is legitimately criticizing Ssumday for like getting solo killed by, you know, Rush or whoever it was? You know, like that just hasn't happened. Like people are talking overall, Ssumday has been more criticized this split than he ever has, but very much public opinion is still very in his favor. Right, I don't think he's had that same amount of criticism. I think he has earned some passes because we know what crazy plays he's capable of.
When you criticize Ssumday, because I think Ssumday, just like any other player who plays the League of Legends, is not immune to criticism. As you look at Ssumday, since we're talking FakeGod Ssumday comparison, where would you focus the criticism for Ssumday?
Well, I would do it like this, because in YouTube chat, Willie Brucker just said, FakeGod got outplayed and didn't respect solo even after getting outplayed for 30 minutes. The problem is that Ssumday would have made an advantage without all the resources that Amazing kept giving. Look, summer 2019 does not bear that thought out. It just doesn't. We did not see Ssumday getting these solo leads. It just didn't happen. It used to happen all the time, and I miss it. Yeah. I miss it dearly. Yeah. But last split, when it did happen, we weren't able to do anything with it. So, and this split, he's just not going up 2,000 gold on his opponent in lane. It's not happening. So that argument just falls apart. And I know that Ssumday's history is much better than that, but we have to like play the hand that we currently are holding. So it's different.
Yeah, I kind of want to make a note on that, because there's something, and we can get to this later, but there are a lot of interesting implications of what we've learned about Ryu through this weekend. Mm-hmm. And I almost think we could go player by player and just say, what if, you know? And I think if you do that, you can almost make an argument for it, like, bring Anda back. Let's get Anda back in here. That guy was amazing with Ryu. He was really good with Ryu in the lineup. So that's a short version, the abridged version of what I think you could do, which is basically just say, yeah, Ssumday in Ryu, of course he's going to be back to the old standard that we all think of. That's why. And I couldn't say you're wrong. I mean, maybe that was the missing piece. Maybe Ryu just hypes up. Maybe he gasses him up in the game.
I was gonna say, because I'm not taking amazing out
dude.
of the game right now.
No,
for anything.
I'm not advocating for any of this. I'm just saying I think you could do it.
Yeah.
And but I don't think it's right. And if that's what some people are thinking is like, well, you get Ssumday Ryu going again, and maybe you get a little bit of that magic back. It's like, I don't know. I think the Ssumday issue that we've seen is that he's not now. Yeah. Okay.
You're gonna stop there. Look,
let's get back.
Let's talk about amazing then.
Let's do it. I've been saying his name on accident all pod long. Let's get into it.
Because I gave this dude a hard time a couple of times during the podcast so far this year about his Sejuani ults.
Yeah,
this dude cured all of the problem there. I mean, did he miss one? I literally don't think he missed one. He either got a flash or got the stun. I think on every time. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But we're looking at the ults landing and being great. We're looking at 100% kill participation out of that guy, which is not something we are very accustomed to seeing.
That's hard to do.
The dude was all over the place. He was ganking. He sacrificed, his camps early on to make sure to get ganks off. And with successful ganks, we were able to do something.
Man, he dashed and wall jumped, and he was so slippery. They would invest a ton to try to catch him, and they couldn't. I was loving it. He had an aimbot going. There's no other explanation. He could not miss. He was scripting, I think. Like, wow, that was crazy, man.
Yeah,
jet lag.
It was cool to see. Yeah, maybe it was the jet lag. Who knows? But we actually built leads in CS and top and bots simultaneously, I think for the first time since we got Bang.
Since 2018, dude. I think you're right.
Yeah. And that's it was all the ganks, right?
Yeah. Now, yes. Yeah. We should talk about Bang a little bit too. I just want to put a pin in that. There's so much to talk about. This is hard to do. It used to be easier when we could just focus on kind of the single most agonizing component here. But was there other stuff you want to talk about with Amazing?
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm following you into the dark, man.
Okay. What did you think about Bang in this game?
He looked like someone gave him a talking to, I thought. Because he was staying in and fighting more. He really was. And maybe it is Ryu. Maybe Ryu's just hollering at him in Korean, telling him to like get in there and do something. But it honestly seemed like, he was playing with more aggression, more willing to fight, more willing to follow up. I mean, it looked to me like a different player. And I still don't think he was this like takeover force. Yeah. I still didn't see quote world champion Bang, but I saw someone who's at least following the team. Yeah, and rolling with the shot calls, which is not what we've seen in the past, which has been a huge issue.
I'm sure what I'm about to say is not true. I'll just preface this with that. They showed the damage graph after one of our team fights. Do you know who was at the top of the damage chart in that team fight?
I saw that. He by like 2,000 damage too.
Yeah, he pumped out like 4,500 damage in one team fight. I honestly don't know if I've seen that. If I've seen it, I didn't recognize it. But it felt like it in the team fight. It's like, oh, they're getting smoked here. Yeah. The damage is pouring through. That's I think one of the things that felt so different. That's it. We figured it out. We had damage. We could deal damage in team fights. I can't remember the last time that we got into a team fight and it was just like, oh, they're melting. They're gone, dude. It's usually like we get a good setup or we get it in a pretty good situation. And then, like somebody goes in, engages, and they get blown up, and the other couple people can't withstand it. We actually out damage them, and I think that was absolutely massive.
Yeah, and you're comparing it to when he's on a champ like Sivir, where you should just be able to toss some blades in there and get a bunch of damage stacking up very quickly.
Well, yeah,
like
they're
we've all
standing
played
next to each
against
other.
Sivir. Yeah, we know what that's like. So,
So you had Bang, just lighting him up with Lucian, and that we're gonna have to start our list of top plays again. We retired that after 2018, but we're gonna bring it back. The last team fight we had, where Bang is in the bottom side of the river doing work, just extinguishing people, and then he catches that Thresh Lantern and just like a rocket.
It was a great lantern. Yeah,
a great lantern. He hit one. I can't remember what it was he led with, but it was skill shot, double shot, dash, double shot. The guy was blown up.
Yeah.
Oh, what a moment.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. He played nice. All right.
He played nice.
I still don't think it was takeover Bang. I don't think it was. This is Bang Bang.
Oh yeah. Well, and this is Bang Bang was. I mean, that was like a moment in time as well. Like that wasn't like an extended. That was when the 100 talk buff was in a full effect.
That's right. Yeah. And maybe we just need to have him on the kind of champion that is forced to play more aggressive early, because like Sivir is the get to 400 CS champ, right? Lucian is you better get it done by mid game. So
right.
Maybe he feels the pressure to be more involved that way. I don't know.
Yeah, like his job is not to just like keep killing the minions. Just keep it going.
Right.
Keep them going.
Right.
Yeah.
So look, that's Bang, and he played better, and maybe it's Ryu.
That is Bang.
Right now we won't know, okay? But we need to go to a place here.
We do.
All right. And I'm
Will
sorry
you
to take us to this place.
Yeah.
Because this place is a place that I like to call the shadowy place.
Like we don't like to go there, but it must be gone too.
Yes, we must go over there. It's not like the Lion King where we're going to stay away.
No.
We have to go to the shadowy place, and that place is Ryu's CS. Whew. It has not been good.
Yeah.
It has really not been good. And I think that it's been problematically so not good.
Yeah. It was a lot lower at one point.
He was down 40 like early. I usually in my notes I take like down the time of the game where I make note of someone's CS. I didn't do it on this, but I know that it was before 17 minutes he was down 40. Wow. It was not good. And I believe even against Golden Guardians, when we felt like everybody was playing well, he was down significantly. Someone check me on that because I might be making it up. But for sure in this game, it was really, really bad. And he just is not looking strong in lane. What do we do?
He's not giving up kills in lane. He's not getting killed in lane, right?
Sure, but like so.
I'm just establishing our base of facts.
Yeah, and to make this statement, I'm actually relying on the casters because, as you know, if you're new here, you might not know that Jordan and I actually don't know very much about League of Legends when it comes to being an analyst, right? We're opinionated and we're observant, but like the casters were pointing out that Nico is supposed to be a pretty good lane opponent for Sylas, right? Sylas is really like dominant right now, and there's Nico's like one of the better matchups you can get. And dude, it went really bad. It went really bad. I don't think this is sustainable. What's your take?
Wow, you just hit him with the not sustainable. That's a lot to say at this point, man.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things I think were not sustainable about this team, but that's not one of them. I think where do you want me to start? The Nico and the Sylas matchup. His Nico was basically a non-factor. Like in the Echo Fox game, he basically just didn't have enough scaling to do much of anything.
Yeah.
Like Pop Blossom would come out. Now, granted, Echo Fox did a really good job of hitting the hourglass like right before it would go, so it didn't do a lot. But he was not a problematic Nico for them. Doesn't mean he didn't make some good plays, but he was not the Nico we see where it's like, well, that champion can single-handedly end a team fight. You get that, like, it shows up on the Penta. They're these plays, right, where the Nico hits 5 and that's the end of it.
Yep.
So it was not that, and and I think that stems from the fact that he was as far behind as he was. He just wasn't scaling quickly enough to kind of to be that threat. So is it a problem? 100%. If Ryu laned even worse than that, even if he was getting killed, I would still say I think we got to stick with this because he brings so much to everyone else, right? Like we just spent a while talking about Bang playing at a level that we haven't seen Bang play for probably at least a full split or more. And I think if you're not giving Ryu credit for that, you're not really taking into consideration the full set of facts, which is Ryu came in, we looked a lot different, and we won our first game in over 100 days. That's all part of this. So when I see the numbers that he put up, I cringe, but I also then say, dude's got to put in some time. He's got to work on that.
Yeah.
Because everything else is right where it needs to be so far as his play.
Lest we forget, this man is coming out of retirement to help us. So,
yeah,
he had kind of checked out. Last split, he was just out. He was on. Yeah. His contract was held by 100T, but he was quote retired, right? So yeah, I mean, it's something. Maybe he'll get that back. I don't know, but we have to keep our eye on that because as I've been pointing out, this whole split, CS has been somewhere where we've struggled a bit, and I'll take it if he's getting a CS deficit, but top and bottom are getting ahead, which is unusual for us. I mean, I guess I would take that trade, but he's got to get better in lane.
I think especially if one more note, especially if he's going to be playing champions more like Talia, where the value, like your wall is not AP scaling, right? The effectiveness of your wall is not based on whether or not you have Rabadons. It's just a wall. Yeah. And if you can put it in the right spot, you could be level 1 or level 6. So I think I'm a little bit more comfortable just because we're not looking at him as a hard carry, and we're not needing him to. What we're saying is, yeah, you get our top and bot lanes ahead, and we're feeling a lot better than we have.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to one more note on this game, and this is a take that I honestly haven't seen anywhere else. I've been kind of reading on the internet, Reddit, and on Twitter a bunch. I haven't seen anybody really make this point, and we probably should, because if our job is to be reasonable and objective about things, we have to point this out. We got pretty dang lucky to win this game. All right, we needed some fortune in this game because it was not looking like it was going to be a win. All right, even though we felt pretty good, there were some mistakes that were made. We were behind in gold. We lost top lane really hard in this. Yeah. Like the events that unfolded just like really, really took us out of this game for a while.
Yeah.
Kudos to us for fighting back. Let me point that out. That's not the attitude that we've really seen out of this team for the past little while. But I gotta say, man, I really think that we got lucky to win this game. So while we're sitting here, we're patting ourselves on the back because we got the first win, and we needed it really badly, and it feels good to get that win. I think if we run that thing back, we don't win it. So I don't want to sit here and act like, oh, we found the solution to everything. Even right. So let's say we'll agree we're playing better right now. The current iteration of the roster feels better. Feels more aggressive, feels better suited to the way the game is being played right now. So we'll agree on that. I still think we kind of got on the lucky side to get a win against one of the worst teams in LCS. So the job is not done. Okay, and that let's talk about that for the rest of the show then, because the job is not done. Somebody that we have hit on a little bit, but we haven't super focused hard on, is Bang himself. And the big question, this is probably the biggest question everybody has right now, right? Is the combination of FakeGod and Ryu hypothetically better than the combination of Prismal and Ryu in the game?
Right.
So, again, harkening back to the import situation.
I mean, Prismal and Ssumday and Ryu?
Yes. So, harkening back to the import situation, if we have Ryu in, we need to take either Ssumday or Bang out. So let's say we run this back, and instead of taking Ssumday out and putting FakeGod in, we take Bang out and put Prismal in. Now, I think you and I, we would agree, right, that that Bang has been more problematic than Ssumday for the team, right? Like we've expected more out of him. We've been let down more by him.
Yep.
Okay. So, and I think that sentiment's starting to gain some traction among fans. So the question is, what is the skill gap between Bang and Prismal? Okay.
Yep.
And how does that compare to the skill gap between FakeGod and Ssumday? So what's your take on that?
Yeah. Well, we've already kind of talked about FakeGod and Ssumday and how, I mean, you said didn't feel like you missed him, right?
Mm-hmm.
What that says to me is the skill gap might still be there between the two. Like, I don't think people are going to argue that FakeGod is as good as Ssumday.
No, yeah, I wouldn't.
The
make
difference
that either.
is not such that you would say, boy, really missed having him in there. Probably more just to like recency, if we're thinking about the split.
Sure.
I think Prismal is probably, as we look at the whole kind of academy crew we have, and I'm really my base is 2018 end of 2019 spring, right? The playoff academy team we had. I think Fragus and Prismal were probably the two who were least prepared for LCS time, and Fragus is currently subbing. Understandably, I mean, he got kind of bumped by Anda, right, when we brought him in. So circumstances out of his control a little bit there. But I think Prismal is one where I haven't seen the performances that would indicate to me that he is ready. And like he does, there will be games where he takes over, and there'll be games where he's picked up pentas, he's got his time on the couch with Nade Shot, and he's done all these cool things. I think that bot lane is one of those where it's very easy to be kind of exploited if you are not ready. And for that reason, I just think he's not there yet. So I think that's probably the reason we haven't seen them try that iteration yet, is because
we haven't seen them try it on the LCS stage.
We haven't seen them try it on the LCS stage. The confidence, and by the way, don't forget, Bang played in Academy with Stunt. And what that means to me is, if we're reading into this, Prismal and Afro were playing, they were scrimming together, right? As Bang and Stunt were getting ready to play together, Prismal and Afro were, because unless Afro was playing with just some random dude, who else would he be playing with?
Right.
So they've seen him in scrims, at LCS level. And I think that what that tells me is he's not yet at that level. The gap is bigger between Bang and Prismal than it is FakeGod and Ssumday.
Yeah. So I think I agree with almost all of that take, because like I said, Ssumday has not been performing well this split by his standard, but I still think that he's been overall better than Bang. Mm-hmm. Maybe that'll turn around if Ryu stays in and he's able to unlock him a bit more, because like we said, we did see Bang step up in this last game. But to me, the skill gap between Bang and Prismal seems pretty substantial. And yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't, even though I think Bang has been more problematic, I wouldn't be quick to switch him out. Now, I will say this. If there's a time to do it, it's right now. Okay? Because given that we're not going to throw this split away right now and just say whatever, because the only thing we can do is have a deep playoff run and maybe make Gauntlet or win and qualify for Worlds. Assuming we don't want to throw away the split, then I would do it now, because I don't want to go through 4 weeks of something not fixing the problem and then make another change. It's like, figure out now which one looks better and then just let it ride. Let it go, let it develop. Because you can't have a constant state of flux for this team. They need to be able to build. They need to be able to scrim together. They need to know, hey, this is my position. This is my role. This is who I'm playing with for, a substantial amount of time. They need to have that kind of stability to develop into what we need them to become. So to me, I am actually okay. If they want to start Prismal this upcoming weekend, I'm cool with it. And I think it's the last chance. So I think after this week, you should solidify the roster.
Yeah. One of the things I think about, and I'm thinking about right now a lot, is I think you have to start preparing for the future. You have to think about Ssumday and Bang, not just as the players they are when they're on the Rift, but as the limited resource that they consume, which is your import slot. And I think that's where you really get into the question mark of how good are these players playing compared to the entire world of players available. Every other player in the world could go into those two spots. And for me, I mean, I think I would have a very hard time saying, yes, those are definitely the two people I want to be taking up those spots. And I think especially even kind of made more tenuous by the importance of Ryu. Because I think you almost have to say, we have to give up the one thing that's been working for this team over the last 2 years. Not the one thing, but like what I call them the linchpin. We have to take the linchpin out and gamble on somebody else coming in who we think is going to be so much better than one of these two guys that they would completely make up for losing that leadership that we have in the game with Ryu. I just don't see that happening. So I think you almost have to stay with Ryu right now, probably thinking more toward the future of what is our replacement plan for Ryu? Like, who is our backfill for Ryu? We got to have somebody. And then I think you look at the same thing we were just talking about. And it's, you're going to get probably an import for top or bot. And I think at this point, I would say, I think you get an import for bot. Even though bot is such a rocky history for imports, because I just don't think Bang is just, I see your face you're making. I don't think Bang is good enough to continue to bet on. Not at the cost, not at the, import slot. Like, that guy gets paid.
Well, that's the problem. You can't dump that contract, right? Like, who's going to take him away from us? He's got to play. And in an ideal world, I think I'm going to try and get that import spot in mid and top and let it ride, because that's kind of what we've been taught, from our experience. But we're not in that situation right now. The other problem is Ryu is like old, right? Like, how long can he keep this up?
Right.
We're already seeing in lane, like we talked about, he's got serious problems. We don't know if that is rust that can be, gotten rid of, or if that's age,
So you talk about Bang's contract. We have to keep it, know who's going to take it. If you bench him for Prismal, you're paying your academy star a lot of money.
But if you're going to pay him either way, then just do whatever makes you win more.
But that's the thing. I think I don't doubt that he could become a serviceable piece of this team. Like, I think that's still in the realm of possibilities. So it's almost like if we have him and he's on our roster and we're paying him, feels like a really big jump to say bench him and play Prismal. If we had another upcoming and very promising domestic ADC, I think that changes the conversation. But it feels like potentially a big drop off just because we don't think he's the future. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say, like I said, if you're gonna do it this weekend, and then we're done. That's what I think. See, let it play out for that weekend, and then decide which combo you like better. If you want to have Ryu, FakeGod in there, or if you want to have Ryu Prismal in there, and then just set it after that, because we need time if we want to have anything done this split. Even if that goal is just to not be the laughing stock and to not be the 10th place, that's still worthy of the commitment. So
I'm going to go on record and say I think the answer to this one is FakeGod Ryu, and play Bang.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm guessing as well. And hey, the Ryu get everybody going buff might work for Bang, and we might see him get better every time. Yeah. Who knows? Someone in YouTube said this Ryu story is insane. The difference the guy makes. Who would have thought? And I want to say kudos to you, Jordan, because you thought that, and you pointed it out so long ago. You pointed it out like last year.
We got to find and clip that. He's the mastermind. I think is what we were talking about.
I think we're proving you right so far.
Well, I appreciate that.
So, look, let's let's do a couple of listener things really quick, and then we'll wrap up.
Let's do it. Yep.
Oh no, but we do have to do one more thing. Pr0lly Watch. We have to revisit Pr0lly Watch. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a
and we should
weekly
also
thing.
probably do a really quick next week.
Oh yeah, that's right, because we forgot to do it this week.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Producer. Okay, Pr0lly Watch. How are you feeling about Pr0lly? Job security, responsibility, how he's looking on the heist? Is he like net change week to week? How's he looking?
It's so interesting having Amazing into the conversation, because that dude, he brings a different coaching aura, right? Like, he's the passionate, like, we've got to do this. I feel like Pr0lly is much more of the like, well, we're gonna keep trying to figure it out, and if we can't figure it out, I guess we never will. So it's an interesting kind of foil to Pr0lly.
Well, did you see the heist? I mean, did you see what he was saying there on like belief in players and stuff?
Oh yeah,
This was like fascinating. I think this was the
Yeah.
best look into Ryu's psychology that we've gotten.
Ryu's or Pr0lly's?
Or I'm sorry, Pr0lly. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, impactful, wise sages, so I naturally said Ryu. Look, he was basically saying he hates to make substitutions because he feels that as a coach, he's trying to get the best out of his players, and he brought the players in because he believes in their ability and he believes they can be what he needs them to be on the team. And when you're making a substitution, it's almost like you're going back on your word to them that you believe in them. And, you're kind of giving up on your, yes, we can make this work. That was really illuminating, right? Because I think like now we could probably piece that together working backwards, but
Yeah.
I mean, that explains a whole lot about how hesitant we were to make some changes last split. I thought that was really, really fascinating. And look, admirable kind of attitude to have, right? Like, place your faith in people, view it as your job to get the best out of them. That's really cool, man. That's cool. It ain't working right now, though.
I was gonna say, not paying dividends in this market.
Yeah. So that I just thought that was a super fascinating look, and amazing being the foil to that, where he's just like, nah, like we should be playing better. We deserve better. The fans deserve better. Yeah. Like, we need to do whatever to get this team back to normal. I'm liking the energy, and he's feeling definitely like a player coach. He's coming off that way right now. And I'm into it. I'm still holding all of my stock in Amazing right now.
Yes, I am as well. Especially as he starts to play, you can tell the rust is coming off. Like, not only the jet lag, but he took last split off too. Like, he and Ryu are in the same position. Or, yeah, he did, right?
Yeah. Amazing.
I'm not misremembering that.
Amazing took a split off. Yeah,
he was the coach most recently. So yeah, both he and Ryu are in the same position. So if we're going to give Ryu some time to get reacclimated, Amazing gets that same chance. And I would say Amazing is actually looking sharper from a mechanic and gameplay perspective already.
Yeah. And
so there's your Pr0lly Watch I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You keep Pr0lly, especially if we keep getting wins.
And especially if we don't know who to replace him with, which is always the big thing. Everybody calling for Pr0lly's head. If you want to think that way, fine, but tell me who you're replacing him with, because that is the rub.
And why, please. Not just the name of another coach that is known, but what they bring is helpful. Yeah.
Okay, so next week, right?
Next week
we have games against C9.
Yep.
And then we have FlyQuest.
Yep.
Okay, predictions.
All right, I harken back. I said we're going to get one game off a top 3 team.
Woo! And you think it's this week?
I can feel the incredulity. Incredulity. I can tell you're incredulous.
There we go. I was gonna say, I don't know, actually.
Yeah, that's a big one. Let's see. Is it this week? C9 dropped against TSM. They're gonna come back mad. It's not this week for us. It's not this week. We're not there yet.
You're not willing to do that?
No, I'm not willing to do that. I don't. If I guess it's every week, it cheapens it. I'm gonna pick it. I'll pick it.
C9, of course, means licorice.
Yeah, that was my other thought.
So if we are gonna put Prismal in, it's a good week to do it. If we want to put Ssumday back in there to hang with licorice. I'm just saying.
Prismal sneaky.
So you think it's a loss for C9? I will agree with you.
Yeah.
I think they just look too strong across the board right now.
Yeah.
And we're still, like I said, finding legs on this new team. So that brings us to FlyQuest, who is sitting at 1-5.
1-5.
1-5.
That's a.
Who else has that record?
Everybody who doesn't have a 4-2 record.
Yeah, right. So FlyQuest, are you predicting differently? We've got Viper up in top lane.
Yeah. I am confounded by their record, I will say. I have not been watching them closely, but I thought for sure they would be doing better than this.
Yeah.
So I'm always wary with teams like that, where it's like, these guys are definitely better than their record shows. We know they can play better. I'm always wary that they're going to just remember how to play, and we'll be the team they remember against. But I will say, yeah, we get a win.
So you're predicting a 1-1 weekend.
That I want us to get another win because it felt so good.
All right, man. I got to drop it on you. I think this weekend is an 0-2 weekend.
Oh,
I do.
Going the other way.
I think we're still experimenting. We're still learning. Mm-hmm. And I agree with your assessment that FlyQuest kind of seems like they shouldn't be that low.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and say I don't think we get a win this weekend. I'm trying to be realistic. I'm trying to be someone worthy of your trust, dear listeners. And I just, look, I love the team.
Trying to help you out for your pick-up
I'm
leagues.
optimistic, but I'm trying to be realistic too. It's going to be a struggle. I will be thrilled if we get a win this weekend. And if we do get a win this weekend, I think that we're going to have a strong rest of the split. I think we'll be, we'll have a chance to win most of the games we play. We'll at least have a chance, So I think we'll learn a lot this weekend, and then I expect us to be more of what we truly are coming the weekend after this. So
yeah, I would love it if we just kind of locked in a roster and we knew if we had something that we could work with enough that even if we get a loss, we don't have to shake up the boggle tray and put it back down. That'd be great.
Yeah. Let me ask you a listener question really quick,
please.
EU Cogma at eCogma on Twitter says, would Ssumday mid be better than Ryu and FakeGod stays top?
No.
Is that it? You want to?
Yeah.
You want to go
kidding.
into that at all?
I'll give you. No. I'll give you more. The reason I say no is because I think Ryu mid is. I think if you take Ryu out of this lineup, we go right back to where we were, which is the dark place, which we don't want to be. So I think could Ssumday outplay? I mean, probably Ssumday could outplay Ryu in lane. Like mechanically maybe. But one thing we've learned for sure is Ssumday does not bring the same level of in-game leadership. And I talked about this last week, but you can't build a team around Ssumday. At least that's what I would argue. And I think that goes doubly true if he's in a position he's not as familiar with, and he's going to be devoting all of his energy to just trying not to get smashed in an off position. And I think you got to go with Ryu.
But Jordan, Perks switched lanes and it worked out fine.
That maybe is a testament to Perks and the leadership he brings to that team. I'm assuming he's got
just because it worked
out
for this one situation, that means it's always going to work out. Jordan, don't you know that? Okay, I agree. I don't think any role swapping is going to help us in this, given our current predicament. So
I mean, if our problem was we weren't mechanically skilled enough, yeah, let's see how it goes. But that's not our problem. Our problem is we don't have an in-game leader, except now we do.
Yeah. Okay, one final question for you from listeners, and this one actually comes from Discord, from the 100T Discord.
Okay.
Our boy, I don't know how to say his name, Dabis, 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 whatever. We love you either way. How long do you think we can go on with this Ryu version of 100T, considering the quality of mid laners in the league?
I think as long as the wins keep rolling in, my friend. Honestly, if I will ride this roster, I know you feel differently about this. I would take this roster until it became very apparent that we will not get wins, because we're coming from a place of 0 wins. We know that we will get no wins with our previous roster. So I think until you can start making large and meaningful changes to this roster, like I'm talking an actual replacement,
off-season changes,
I think you've got to go with this. I don't see what else you do. This is the only way you can actually plan for the future, because otherwise what you're looking at is we have 5 losing positions and we have to try to figure out which one is going to actually help us get better if we replace, or which 2. And then you start getting into just crazy territory. Like, we're just blowing this thing up, replace 3 people, and we're just starting from scratch. So if you keep Ryu, and you at least get to build on something, there's actually something there. So that is my answer to that question, as long as the wins are coming.
Well, like, I think you understand the question a little bit differently than I do. Because you're kind of answering like, how long should we keep Ryu in there? And I kind of see it as, how long can we last and get away with having him in there? Okay.
If he's like, are they going to exploit Ryu?
Exactly. And I think that's a really good question, because
that's happened at Worlds.
If he can't, yeah, exactly. It happened at Worlds. If he can't shake off the dust and get better in lane, I don't think we can really sustain this path, which is a shame, because clearly, like I said, you and I both believe that he's impacting this team in a massive way, and we need to have him in there. I don't know. It's like, if he can't get better in lane and our other guys don't see drastic improvement, then we may be just riding the bottom for a while here. Because, yeah, he has tough mid laners to go up against. Like, you know, this weekend we've got Niski, right? And we've got we play TSM the following weekend, so we got Bjergsen coming up. Then we'll have Jensen that same weekend. Like, there's quite a mid lane gauntlet that he's going to have to run through if he, you know, holds to his spot. Oh, and of course, the next one after that is Crown. So, you know, it's like not looking super promising there. That being said, I think it's the right move to have him in right now, and I hope we can just continue to find some footholds.
Yeah, I think if you're going to replace him, you have to be confident that whatever lineup you're going with has the same level of leadership in it. And so I think if you pull Ryu out without some assurance that the person you're replacing him with is going to provide leadership, whether in that position or somewhere else, I think you're entering very dangerous territory. Yeah, because we've seen what that can do to a team that should otherwise be much, much, much better.
Yes, we know it all too well.
Yes, firsthand.
All right. Well, look, let's wrap up there. Let me say this to everybody watching. Next week, again, is a very special week, because it will be Hunter Talk's birthday.
Wow.
June 24th was the day that we launched this thing under the Den of Thieves banner.
Oh, Den of Thieves.
Yeah, it was a different name, different brand, same dads. So we have our first birthday coming up this weekend. We hope that you will join us for that show, share in the special times with us as we celebrate the mild growth that we've experienced. In all honesty, we absolutely love the community that is building around this and building around 100 Thieves. And so, you know, it will be a special show for us. So we hope you're there. All right. That's my little pitch.
Read between the lines, folks.
Okay. Well, that'll do it. Look, let's get a win. Let's never, ever lose again. Let's win the next 12 games so that this World jersey that I'm wearing gets worn by the crew as we head to Worlds again.
The World's whites.
Championship whites. Which, I don't even know what it would be, because since now we wear whites as our normal color, but, you know.
Black. Go back
blacks,
to,
championship blacks, I guess. But
follow the COD conventions.
That's right. Congrats, COD. Shout out COD, by the way, for running it up, winning Anaheim.
Back to back.
All right. That'll do it for us. We're streaming later this week. We'll do some Rec League, maybe a bonus stream as well. We're talking about it. But we look forward to seeing then. And we love you. Miss you already.
Bye, everybody.